Welcome to day 7 of the New Testament in 100 days. This video is actually going to launch you all the way through the Gospels. Now that you've gotten through your 6 introductory videos and introductory readings, you're going to be starting the rest of the New Testament in the order in which it's in your Bible. A couple things that we want to remind you about as you're going through this reading plan. First, don't forget about learn, obey, and teach others to do the same. You're not coming to the Bible every day simply to investigate or get information, but to actually grow closer to God and become more like Him through being transformed through the Word. So our simple, helpful way to be able to think about that is today in the Scriptures, what did I learn or relearn about God, humans? What commands or characteristics did I learn or was reminded about? How can I obey? What can I put into practice? What behaviors or beliefs do I need to change? And who can I look to share that with? That's how we would sum up Jesus' call to make disciples in Matthew 28. Go and make disciples, teach them to obey. So as you're continuing in the New Testament in 100 days, don't forget about learn and obey. A second thing to remember is that you're going through this probably pretty quickly. This is not a study designed for deep dives into particular words or one section or one passage. We're trying to read high and fast through the New Testament so that you start to build the shape of the New Testament in your heart and mind. We want you to be exposed to stories either for the first time or to see them in such rapid sequence that you're actually seeing where things are repeated or starting to pick up patterns and themes that you'll see throughout the New Testament. We also want to make sure that you get a chance to read all of the passages, not just the ones that your pastor is preaching from, not just the ones that come up on YouVersion apps or different Bible apps, but we want you to read every verse of the New Testament. And then as we get into the rest of it, we'll pop in with a few videos here and there to be able to set up the next section of reading that you're going to be doing. But for now, you're going to be reading the gospel accounts according to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. One thing to note that it's not the gospel of Matthew, it's the gospel according to Matthew. There's only one gospel, there's only one good news, that is Jesus Christ. These are 4 different accounts of that good news. Matthew's writing primarily to a Jewish audience and will do a ton of New Testament reference. Mark is primarily writing to a Greek audience and will move very fast in the action. Mark was thought to be probably the first book written, put all together as it is, then Matthew. And then we get to Luke. This is looking at the most kind of investigative, researched version of events. It might provide the best chronological example of the events of Jesus' life. And then we get to John, which is a little bit different than the other 3. Matthew, Mark, and Luke are often called the synoptic gospels. They share many stories, they share many examples, but John is pretty different. It includes much different things. The thought process is that Matthew, Mark, and Luke, at least Matthew and Mark, had been around for a while and been circulating. John mentions in his book that if they wrote down everything Jesus said and did, there wouldn't be enough books to fill it in the world. So it seems understandable that John would then write down additional stories, testimonies, things that happened in Jesus' life. So that's why there's thought to be some difference in things that we're finding in John that we don't find in the other Gospels. There's nothing better than experiencing and getting to spend time with Jesus. That's what you're going to do in these Gospels. So as you get started, remember, learn, obey, and teach others to do the same, as well as read high and fast, get a sense of things, and make sure your goal is not to read the Bible just to read the Bible, but to read it to grow closer to and more like God.